doesn't this sort of suggest to you then why Samuelson had the model that he did? He grew up during the Depression and the New Deal, and then he flourished in the 60s, right? So his historical was that you grew up in the Reagan years. Right?
I suppose,
Sort of suggests why the model is so
well, maybe that explains why he was spectacularly wrong, but he was still wrong. I mean, so that is true. I mean, that's absolutely true. Samuelson was not an outlier or an oddball by having that view. I make fun of him a little bit.
House advisor. I mean,
make fun of him a little bit here, and I probably would be. I would never do that if he was actually here. I mean, is he alive? He's dead, right? Yeah. But a lot of people thought that. I mean, it was again. But the point I really think it's today's audiences who grew up in Reagan's era and Clinton's era, where high growth and market liberalization. That first chart with the where the income's higher in the blue, everyone shrugs. But people that remember, that was not an obvious chart. It would not, if you'd taken a bet with a sample of economists in 1960, I'm not sure you would have gotten that they would have guessed that picture came out that way. So that actually is the big point for the talk, is that Samuelson got away with those charts in part because he just made them up. He just drew some lines on a map of what he thinks the world looked like. And it turns out it was wrong, but how do we know it was wrong? Well, we know it's wrong because we now have data. We've collected the data, and we've empirically challenged the claim that Samuelson essentially made in those charts. And it turns out now we know he's wrong. We've mixed the chemical. That's what the beautiful thing about the index. And I really do appreciate all the technical questions about weighting and all that. That's all great, and that's true. And if we can come up with better weighting, I'm the first guy to join in arms in doing that. But the beautiful thing is that by having an empirical measure, even a flawed one, we can start to address those empirical questions and hopefully shed some light on these questions that have been vexing political economists for 200 years. And Smith was writing, and the other classical writers were writing in an era that were simply vacuums as far as evidence was concerned. We now live in a world where we can apply evidence in much greater detail and hopefully get some answers to some of these questions. I think we're at the beginning edge of it too. These data that we're using have just come online, like in my life, like since I was lucky enough to become an economist like in the late 80s and early 90s. And just when these data sets were being generated and published, and the next generation, it's going to be even better. I mean, the idea that you can open up a book and find out how many days it takes to start a business in Cairo is amazing. We're going to get data on so many things in the next 20, 30, 40 years that we're going to start. Hopefully we're going to stop arguing and calling each other names like commie and greedy bastard and all these other names. We'll stop calling each other names. We'll start collecting data and acting like natural scientists. That's my grand hope for the future of political economy, is to stop the ideological name calling and start doing more empirical work. I think that's it. There is a website. Some stupid marketing major came up with this URL, freetheworld.com. I hate the name. It wasn't my choice. But that was what they decided to do. Okay. You can go there. You can download the book, all the data. You can download an Excel spreadsheet with all the data back to 1970. Play with it to your heart's content. You can reweight the index if you want. You can do anything you want. And thank you.